Hello.
Hello,
Hello. Oh,
Greg.
sorry, my video
Hi.
keeps clicking off. Oh, that's better. How are you today? How are you, Sophie?
It's
Okay.
freezing outside,
How was
and
it?
the weather. Yeah, and the weather does make people feel sleepy.
Oh, okay. What temperature is it there?
Um, 15 Celsius degree, but it is
That's
much colder than you think.
oh,
Really.
okay. That's not very cold, really, compared with what we've had here, which has been
Yeah.
very, very cold the last week or so. I think it's been about 3 degrees in London on some
Oh
days.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's been really, really cold. So not particularly lovely, but still. How's your work today? What have you been doing?
Well, actually, I had a class in the morning, and I think it is quite exhausted because I had that class for 4 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, and also we have break during the class, but it's just still feeling so exhausted, and you can't really pay attention to the whole class since it's been 4 hours. And
Wow. What was the
yeah,
class on? What was the subject?
and it's actually about the test of the chest, like yeah,
The chest area, the diaphragm.
yeah, the chest area, and
Okay.
it's like is all about that. I don't know, there's a lot of professional terms during the class, and it is just all about that, how to assess a person of their chest, their lung, their their lung, and all of the respiratory disease.
Oh, okay.
This Yes, the
I
term
mean,
of
do
this.
you usually do it's interesting because you're learning this as a nurse, but do in a hospital situation, would you be assessing the patients, or would you be as a nurse, you're going to be like a nurse practitioner then, so you would be assessing the patients in a hospital situation, I'm guessing.
Yes,
Is that why?
indeed,
Oh, okay.
indeed.
Okay. And when and do they actually give you some practice for that? Do they with
Not
live
really.
patients? Oh, okay.
Not really. We if if my classmate is my patient is something that I yeah we usually practice all the tasks from my classmates or ourselves, like listening the sound of the chest and check the artery or vein, just some tests
Oh,
we
okay.
usually do it by ourselves, yeah, or our,
Because that would be a good
our
way to
classmates.
learn, surely, if the tutors gave you all a medical condition secret and on a piece of paper, and then, like, I don't know, pulmonary embolism or something like that, something major, and then they
Yeah.
they said, okay, so, and then you didn't tell the person what you were given, but then you as a nurse came to the patient and said, oh, could you tell me your symptoms? And then they described the symptoms of a pulmonary embolism.
Yeah,
And then you could try and, work it out from the symptoms. That would be a good way to do it.
yeah, that's what we have to do.
Oh, okay. So do you do it amongst yourselves? Do they give you the condition? Say, like, five of you, you have these, here's a condition. They don't tell the other person, then you will have to guess. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's basically like when a patient come into a hospital and we have to just do some tests, do some medical tests for him or her after. But of course, the patient has to tell us what's the symptoms of them, how they feel and the pain, where do they feel the pain, and how hurt it is, how painful it is, and how's they're feeling, and based on this situation, and we have to do some assessment.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, we have to tell the doctors that there's yeah, there's might have some symptoms, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and we
And
need
are
doctor
these
to
real patients? Are these real patients?
not really no.
Oh, okay. Who are they? They're your other students, your friends, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, my
Colleagues.
friend.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's really good. That's really good. What was I going to say to you? Oh, something. But I was just sorry. I was just thinking. Oh, yes, I know. I was thinking of it. Yeah, I know. It just came. A word. Let me put it in the screen.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a word I just suddenly thought of in relation to what you're saying. Yeah. Do you now? Oh, sorry, my doorbell's just rang, so I'm just going to quickly. But do you know what this means? Psychosomatic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking we could do a sort of like a quick quiz. I'm just going to quickly answer my door for 30 seconds.
Sure, sure.
Just
Just
because
go
I can hear.
ahead. Just go
I know. I'm
ahead.
sorry. I just stopped my.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sorry about that, Sophie. Yeah, basically, our gate is broken where I live. We've got I live in a block of flats and we have a little driveway and the big gate is broken and
Yeah.
cars drive in there, but it's private. And because the gate's broken, people are coming in. So we've got to try and fix that today. And my neighbor who lives, she's a nice lady and she's got young children. I think she's quite worried about it, but I secretly think she broke the gate. I can't.
Why?
Oh, well, because it's like we've got a little gate for pedestrians to come in, you know, if you're just walking, but the big gate is for cars. I don't have a car. She has a car, and you have to have a sort of buzzer thing. And I think, well, it's like her and someone else. And I think it got broken. I'm not quite sure. I don't want to accuse her, but I think, and she's saying, oh, well, what should
Just
we do?
instinct.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you why it's terrible. Do you know what Airbnb is? It's like where you rent
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Well, she's got a house. We've got flats, but she's got a sort of house. And then she had a garage and she made her garage into a little apartment. And she said it was for her son. But then what I realized was this year, many people came in with cars and everything. And then I guessed it was Airbnb. And then literally about 3 weeks ago, someone came in with a car and said, oh, we can't get into the gate. And I was like, oh, hello, who are you? And they went, oh, we're staying in the Airbnb just there. So she's doing Airbnb. And I just wonder if it was one of the people with the cars broke. I think they did, I can't say. I can't say to her, well, it's your Airbnb guests who've broken the gate. I wanted to say that. I couldn't say that.
Oh god.
But it's difficult, you know, living in a place,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, with life, you know, I imagine it's the same in any flat situation, you know, like with your flatmates. I bet it's difficult sometimes, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely, because
I remember you had a problem with your flatmate cooking smelly food, didn't you? It was,
yeah.
and did that get solved?
Yeah, that's true. But also like some of the people you also have to tackle with their problems, especially like their feelings. And it's just
Yeah,
somehow it's just feeling so, I don't know, somehow it's just feels really annoying because I just think that maybe sometimes people just need to compromise each other, and
yeah,
you should not just really release your negative thoughts or expression to others, and because basically people live in the same place and people just
yeah,
tolerate, compromise each other, and you have your feeling and I have your feeling, but I didn't tell you what's my feeling and you just spill it up spill
yeah,
it
yeah,
up on
yeah.
me, and it was like, oh my gosh, is that my fault right now? I mean,
You're
I've
right.
been
You're right.
tolerant
We
you.
use it's a great word, and it's like, you know, I expect you know this. It's like dump your feelings on me. It's just a bit like, you know, if someone just goes, you speak to them and then just go, "Blah," you know, they
Yeah,
just throw it all at you. They're not actually taking you into consideration. It's just like all about them, you know, and
yeah,
that's never a conversation. That's just like a dump, really, dumping people,
exactly,
garbage, throwing their
exactly.
garbage out onto your personality, you know. But I agree, you used a great word, by the way, compromise. Yeah, that's a great word you use, to compromise. You know, you have to compromise with people. I definitely think that's
Exactly.
true. It's like, it is really good to do that. Now, what I was going to say, psychosomatic. Do you do some I think I've spelt it right. Yeah, I have spelt it right. Do you do any sort of talks about that? Do you do sort of any learning about psychosomatic illness? You know, like psychosomatic illness, you know, where, because what does it mean to you, psychosomatic? Oh, yeah, that's right. It vanished. It just jumped a bit. It's funny. My Google seems to be flashing a bit today. That's why I was a bit late. Do you? What does psychosomatic illness mean to you?
It's like you have your, it's like a little bit like a mental and physical disease at the same times.
Yes. Yeah. Well, often it can be that someone might have a problem, a physical problem, but it's
Um,
actually something else causing the physical problem.
yeah.
That, you know, you have to treat the whole thing mentally, and it could even be another problem. It could even be almost outside them. You know,
Mm,
like they might have tinnitus or something. You know, they might have something which is a bit of a stress related problem. But I mean, even with
mm,
stomach disorders, you know, I was thinking about this, you know, people can get bad stomach problems because psychologically they're quite unwell, you know, or they have issues, mental health issues, but they're containing the mental health things and it just focuses down onto their stomach or something. And it's about understanding that. So I know originally people used to say psychosomatic illnesses weren't real. You know, they were just saying, well, it's just
yeah.
imaginary. But the but they are real because they manifest themselves just in a different way. And it's still, I think it's to do with, in this country, we still have problems with that about mental health, you know, and things like that. I mean, it's interesting. I'll tell you a quick story.
Sure.
Uh, I used to know a girl who I don't know her anymore. She was a friend for about 5 years. She seemed really normal, and she had quite a high-powered job in a charity. And after about 4 or 5 years of knowing her, we met one day and she said to me, oh, she said, I didn't sleep very well. I keep getting these problems with my neighbors. And I said, oh, okay, what is it? And she said, oh, they're always talking about me. And I thought, oh, that's really strange. And then I said, oh, okay. And then we talked a bit about it. And then we just carried on. And another time I met her, she said, oh, yeah, it's the neighbors again. They're talking about, me and this relationship I had with this guy. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just accepted it. And then, I didn't know that she was in a relationship with anyone. So as it went on and she used to talk about this, and then slowly I used to think, because I hadn't been to her flat, but then I realized her flat wasn't really close to another flat. And I was like, how is she hearing these people talk about her? It's different if it was in the same building, maybe you could hear something next door. This wasn't like even in the, I said, where are these? And she said, oh, they're next door. And I was like, and also I slowly began to realize there was something a bit strange about this, because she was talking about this relationship she had with this guy and how they didn't think he was right for her. And I was thinking, wow, that's really personal. Why would your neighbors be saying that?
Yeah.
And slowly I began to think something was a bit strange. And so one day we were having another conversation and I just said, how did you meet this guy? And she said, oh, I was doing some exercise at a gym and there was some dance classes and I had to walk through the class. And I said, oh, and you got to know him that way? And she said, well, yeah, he was running the class. He was the teacher in the class. And then I realized, because I'd seen a program on television, she didn't actually know this man. She'd never had a relationship with him.
Wow.
And, yeah, she didn't actually have a relationship with him at all. But her mind had created this relationship. And yeah, it's a known syndrome. It's called, I think they call it, I can't remember. Oh, it's I think it's this. I think I might be wrong. I think it could be known as Munchausen by proxy syndrome. And it's also called it's known as de Clerambault's syndrome, I think, as well, after a French lady. But it is real. It's very, very real. And in fact, once I realized this, it changed the nature of my friendship with this girl, because I realized she had a problem, but she didn't think it was at all. She thought everything she was telling me was real. And she needed to get other people to believe her conspiracy. And the moment you stop believing her story, she didn't like you, because you weren't confirming her and I fell out with her in the end over something. And I realized that everything she said was a lie, actually. Her life was real in some ways, but this whole relationship thing. And then funny enough, there was a documentary on BBC television about it, about 3 or 4 years after that. And it was so fascinating about people who suffer from this thing. And it's about, on a little level, you could say it's about an imaginary friend, a relationship, which is fine, except when it becomes very, very real and the person really, and the most famous case, which is from, well, there's a novel written about it. Ian McEwan's a novel called Enduring Love is about that. Actually, it's quite an interesting novel about two people who witness an accident with a balloon and then basically one becomes obsessed by the other. But the de Clerambault syndrome, I think in about 1925, this lady came to England who was from France and said she was having an affair with the King George V. And everyone sort of believed her. And then they said, how does he communicate with you if it's all very secret? And she said, and this sounds amazing, she said, well, I go to Buckingham Palace and I can read from the way all the curtains are drawn, the distance in the curtains. I can read a message from the curtains. And so everyone realized she was nuts. Basically, she had a mental illness. But and in this television program, the documentary, and the thing is, most of the people seemed totally normal who had this. Absolutely. You wouldn't, until they start to tell you the story. And at first it seemed very logical. And then it just sort of unravels. And the most scary one was this lady who was really educated, and actually, as my friend was, and she lived at home with her mother, and she said that she was having an affair with the doctor, and basically they said to her, "Oh, how do you know him?" And she said, "Well, we've been having an affair a long time." And then her mother said, "Well, look, basically our car broke down one day and this man came and helped us when our car broke." And so that was the only connection she'd had for like about half an hour with this man. But the problem was she became so obsessed with him. And this man was a doctor and he was married. And they interviewed the woman and they said, "Oh, how are you having a relationship with this man?" She said, and then she said the most amazing thing. She said, "Well, when I go to his house," she said, "there's a woman there who claims to be his wife. And she says he has children." She said, "But I don't know why she's saying that, because he's in an affair with me." But it was, everything she was saying was imaginary. And it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting syndrome to look up. I don't know if you it's not exactly connected to psychosomatic illness, but it's slightly, but it's very interesting. It's called Munchausen by proxy. And it's quite frightening, but literally this lady I knew, she did have it, because in the end, I realized she'd only spoken to this man once walking across his dance class. She'd never spoken to him. And she created this relationship in her mind, and she then embroidered it, and it had been going on for years. It's really very strange. But anyway, we'll get on with the London thing. And actually, that would be really good to, I was just thinking, can you name, because we'll look at the video they found, can you name top 10 sites in London, tourist sites in London? Anyone's probably in the top 10. The most obvious tourist sites.
Big Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben. Big Ben's all covered up at the moment. And you know, Big Ben is...
I have something to show you. I have,
oh, yeah.
I think it's something I use to save my money. A lot of coin, and it's a Big Ben. And
oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
There's Peter Pan.
A tin,
Peter Pan is,
yeah.
Peter Pan's here.
Oh, nice. But you know, Big Ben is actually the clock. It's not the tower. The actual tower is actually called, I think it's called the Bell Harry Tower. Big Ben is only the clock in the thing. So can you name somewhere else?
London Eye.
London Eye. Yeah, that's so interesting, because that's a big attraction. That's quite new, really. It is quite a new attraction. It's not even old. That's quite interesting. Okay, next, another one.
London Bridge.
Bridge. Yeah, I think, now the thing is, I think you mean Tower Bridge.
Yeah.
Not, because London Bridge and Tower Bridge are two different things. People think Tower Bridge is called London Bridge, but it's actually Tower Bridge. Yeah, because interestingly, there's a story, and this is a true story. An American man wanted to buy what he thought was Tower Bridge, and he thought it was London Bridge. And they were selling the old London Bridge because they needed to build another one. And this American man bought it and put it up in the desert in Arizona. He thought he was getting Tower Bridge, which they weren't selling. So he bought a London Bridge, and it's just like a very flat bridge. But Tower Bridge is the iconic one with the towers and the thing. Yeah. Right, okay, next, another one. Can you think of something? Where does the Queen live?
Buckingham. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buckingham Palace, originally home to the Duke of Buckingham, not the Queen. The first person who lived there, I think, was George II. and also supposedly the Queen doesn't like it. Buckingham Palace is very big and very gloomy and quite cold. She prefers living at Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
If she can, I mean, really, the Queen lives at Windsor Castle. She doesn't really live in Buckingham Palace. She doesn't like it. It's big. It's just ceremonial. I think when the Queen dies, I think they might turn Buckingham Palace into a museum. I've got the feeling, because Charles doesn't like living there, and it's good for ceremonial occasions, but not really to live in, you know. I mean, in fact, with all those big places, I know someone who has a very big house and they don't have any children, and it's strange to go there. You know, if you go for a weekend, the rooms are so big, you're constantly looking for people. You can't find them. Like, I went for a weekend and there were about 5 of us staying in a house with about 50 rooms. And so people would say, have you seen this person? They go, no, I saw them half an hour ago in another room. And then you go to another room and they weren't there. It was in the countryside. It was amazing, but too big. Right, another one. Can you think of its most famous?
British Museum.
British Museum, that's a good one. That's a really good one. British Museum is such a great museum. I really like it. When you go there, it's best to just go for an hour and then see one or two things, and then leave, and then come back another day, because it's just so much to see. Okay, anything else? We've got a few.
I think that still have a lot of palace that I have to mention.
Well,
but
yeah, there were the most other famous one I was thinking of, the Tower of London, where the crown jewels are.
Yeah.
You know, and where they cut the head off the queens. They killed, you know, it's like a amazing old building. And then also the one that everyone thinks of is Madame Tussauds. You know Madame Tussauds? It's the waxworks of the, you know, famous people. And it's actually quite good. It's quite expensive to go, but I like going to really bad waxworks. I think it's so funny. Not in London. There used to be one on the outside of London, and you couldn't work out who anyone was. It was just like, they were so bad. You'd be like, who is that? You know, and I like them the worse they are, you know. Also, was supposedly in Madame Tussauds, when you're no longer famous, they sort of get rid of your head and make it into something else, which is quite funny. Anyway, let's have a look at the videos. Let's watch this video. And I've got a message there. Don't know what that is. It's and then I've got an alternative video, and also I've got some poems about London. So let's have a look. Oh, what is the
It's a city fit for a queen. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 London landmarks. For this list, we've chosen places that carry historic and/or cultural significance within the city of London. Number 10, Trafalgar Square.
Oh yeah, that's true.
One of the most popular public meeting places in London and the site of celebrations, sporting events, protests, and more. Trafalgar Square is situated in the city of Westminster. Originally named Charing Cross, the area was redeveloped in the early 1800s and renamed to commemorate an important victory in the Napoleonic Wars. In addition to Nelson's Column, which honors a hero of that same battle, Trafalgar Square is also home to several extravagant fountains, the famous Fourth Plinth, and the National Gallery. Number 9.
It's interesting. Yeah, I don't think they have sporting events there, as far as I can tell. It's too small. What? I don't know what sporting event she thinks, but yeah, the National Gallery is good, except they've created a new entrance now, so you have to walk miles through parts of the museum, parts of the gallery, to see the paintings you want. You used to be able to just walk up the steps, go around the corner, and see the beautiful impressionist paintings like by Monet and Renoir and Van Gogh. Now you have to go in one entrance and sort of walk miles and miles and miles, but it's still good, still free as well, which is good. London Eye.
The London Eye. Also called the Millennium Wheel, this observation wheel was built to coincide with Y2K, and today it's the most widely visited paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom. Located adjacent to Jubilee Gardens, it was the world's tallest Ferris wheel when it was erected, measuring 443 feet or 135 meters high. Though that record has since been surpassed, the London Eye still attracts over 3.5 million observers each year, offering them unparalleled views of many of London's most popular sites. St. Paul's Cathedral.
Oh yeah, we didn't put that in. That's a really good place to visit, St. Paul's Cathedral. St. Paul's Cathedral is where Lady Diana got married, Princess Diana and Charles. You have to pay to go in, but you can also, if you go to a service in the evening, you can sort of go into the service and then just have a quick walk around. That's quite a good way. The one thing also with the Millennium Wheel, it's not that expensive, but it goes very slowly, really slowly. So, and they're very big, those pods are very big. And I know someone who works for it, and they said the biggest problem is that people go in with young children and there's obviously no toilets, and the children really want to go to the toilet. And it takes about an hour. It takes about an hour. So the problem is when children want to, you know, they have to do a lot of cleaning up, so someone told me, after the children, you know, where little babies want to, you know, young toddlers, because it goes like this very, very slowly. It's okay. I mean, there's maybe other places you can go for a view of London.
Located atop London's highest point, St. Paul's Cathedral, in its current incarnation, was designed by architect Sir Christopher Wren and consecrated in 1708. A major site on the London skyline, this Church of England cathedral is recognizable thanks to its famed dome, which is enclosed by spires. The location of several prominent events over its history, today it draws visitors who wish to admire its architecture, marvel at history, or find a quiet spot for reflection. Number 7, Wembley Stadium.
Oh yeah, that's
After
true.
the original stadium on this site was demolished in 2003, a new and completely redesigned arena was built and opened 4 years later. The new Wembley was given a more modern design, with a 436-foot, 133-meter arch standing out as its most prominent feature. With a seating capacity of 90,000 and a circumference of 0.62 miles or 1 kilometer, it's one of Europe's largest stadiums. And today it hosts everything from sporting events to mammoth music events for locals and tourists alike to enjoy. Number 6, Westminster Abbey.
That's true. That's a really good one, actually. Westminster Abbey. It's a really good. I have to tell you, I've never been there. I've never been inside. You have to pay now to go in, and it's quite expensive. But the tombs are good. The tombs are very good there. Tombs of kings and queens of England and famous people.
As one of the United Kingdom's most significant religious structures, Westminster has hosted many important events throughout its history, including weddings, burials, and coronations. The site on which the Abbey is now built has been a place of prayer for over a millennium, but construction on the Gothic church as it stands today began in 1245 on the wishes of Henry III. Providing a snapshot of British tradition, Westminster Abbey is a living monument to history appreciated by over 1 million visitors annually. Number 5, Piccadilly Circus. The bright lights and hordes of people convening in this famous London road junction are enough to convince any visitor that it's a circus. Built in 1819, Piccadilly has become a crossroads that leads to several other locations. In fact, visitors will find shopping, theaters, and other sources of entertainment nearby.
Quite boring thing. It's just, you know, I mean, there was a time it looked really glamorous and lovely. And I didn't know it in that time. I think in the 1920s, it was very beautiful. Now, because it's so busy, it's just a sort of road junction. And lots of the buildings around the outside, like this building here, used to be called the London Pavilion, and it was an amazing space. Now it's just full of touristy things happening, and it, you know, not very good. And then there's some shops around there that are a bit boring. On this side, there's the big neon sign with now electronic signs. There used to be neon there. It was very atmospheric, but it's not anymore. And, you know, there's some cool places near there, but you don't want to really hang out there, really.
Lit by its well-known neon signs and with the Shaftesbury Memorial Fountain providing a place for weary travelers to rest, Piccadilly Circus is now one of the busiest squares in London.
It's not a
Number
square.
4, Buckingham Palace. One of the world's last working royal palaces, Buckingham Palace is both the workplace and the London dwelling used by the British monarch. Though part of the building was constructed as early as 1705, the palace was expanded in the 1800s, at which time it became the royal residence. Today, crowds gather near Buckingham Palace to greet the royals, admire its ornate exterior and gardens, or to witness.
Interestingly, I just wind that back a bit.
The royal residence. Today, crowds gather near Buckingham Palace to greet the royals, admire.
You see, interestingly, that bit at the back is the old bit. This was built in about 1920, the front. It was much smaller. And they built this, and the Queen, I think, to be honest, lives somewhere in this bit. This bit is full of big empty rooms, very grand reception rooms. You know, it's a bit.
Its ornate
very
exterior
cold.
and gardens, or to witness the renowned changing of the guard ceremony. Number 3, Tower Bridge.
This is what you meant by London Bridge, isn't
Yeah.
it? I thought so. Yeah, everyone thinks that. It's great. I'll tell you one funny story about this. I'm actually, I think I don't know if I mentioned this before. The bridge opens like that to allow boats to go through. And in the 1950s, this amazing bus driver did something incredible because it was done by hand. The man who opened the bridge forgot to ring the bell and started to open the bridge. And there was a bus coming up to the bridge with people on the bus, a red bus, a big red bus. And so he went onto the bridge and the bridge started to open like that. And this bus had already gone past the moment, and the bus driver knew he wouldn't be able to stop. And so he knew that the bus would just go into the water. So he accelerated, and the bus went like that over the gap between the two open bits of the bridge. And he got awarded a medal for saving all the people. It wasn't his fault. It was the man who did the bridge's fault. And then it became computerized. And well, funny enough, about a month ago, it broke and it was stuck open. It was stuck open for about 2 days. They couldn't close it. It was just like that. So no, and it's an important traffic junction. It's nice. You can walk across it. It's a really nice walk across it.
Constructed between 1886 and 1894 across the River Thames to ease congestion, Tower Bridge features classic Victorian Gothic architectural elements that complement the nearby Tower of London.
That's where the crown jewels are. And this is very old. This building is 1,000 years old. It's amazing. It's it's originally a Norman keep. It's known as the White Tower.
Built as a combination suspension bridge and bascule in order to accommodate passing tall mast ships, Tower Bridge is now a recognizable emblem of the city and one of the world's most famous bridges. Not only is the bridge open to automobiles, pedestrian visitors can also enjoy sweeping vistas from the walkways. Number 2, the Tower of London. Named after its White Tower, which was erected in 1078 by William the Conqueror, the Tower of London is the home of the crown jewels and is guarded by the iconic Beefeaters. Also once home to an armory, a treasury, and even a zoo. Perhaps its most famous use was as a prison, which led to the castle's reputation as a place of torture and death. Despite this, or perhaps because of it, the tower is now one of Britain's most popular tourist attractions due to its rich history. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Oh yeah, the Globe. Globe Theatre. Don't know what that is. Millennium Bridge. True. Royal Albert Hall's great. I don't know what that is. Hyde Park. Oh, okay.
Number 1, Big Ben and the Palace of Westminster.
So you got the right one.
Indisputable symbols of the city, the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben are 2 of the most recognizable landmarks.
At the moment, it's all covered up. Big Ben is all covered in scaffolding because they're trying to repair it, because the building was built, even though it's not very old, it was built in the 19th century. The stonework is very crumbling because of the pollution, and they're having to do massive repairs, and it's where the government are, and they're having a real problem with it. To be honest, it's going to cost a lot of money.
In London. Though the original building on this site was once used as the residence for English monarchs, today the Palace of Westminster is where the country's government meets. Located at the north end of the palace is Big Ben, which is the nickname given to the bell that chimes from the instantly recognizable Elizabeth Tower. Together, these spots make up one of London's most popular and iconic tourist attractions. Do you agree with our list? What's your favorite landmark from the capital city of England? For more classic top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to Watch Mojo.
That's enough of that. Okay, not bad. I'll see what I found. An alternative secret London. We'll have a quick look at that, and we might have enough time to do the poem. 10 secret hidden places in London. Let's have a look. I don't know what it will tell us. But we'll have a look at these.
Although London's scenery may be limited to Hyde Park or St. Paul's Cathedral, most tourists flock to the city like bees for the urban oasis, food, unique architecture, and history. But have you ever heard of these stunning, discreet spots? Welcome to Traveltastic, and today we'll be taking a look at 10 such places in London. To see more videos, hit the subscribe button and comment your secret spots in the comments section below. Number 10, Jon Snow's water pump.
That's good.
Sorry, we're not talking about Game of Thrones here, but something equally as intriguing. Jon Snow's water pump can be found on Broadwick Street, right behind Oxford Street. Around 1850, the cholera...
Oh, let me just put the, sorry, there's no subtitles there. Hopefully this is good. I agree with what he's saying. That's an interesting, I have to tell you, this is not the original pump. This is a display of the pump they put in, but
pandemic was ravaging all across London. A renowned doctor called Dr. Jon Snow, who is also regarded as one of the founding fathers of epidemiology, traced the origin of the pandemic to this very water pump in the middle of London. The pump is famous for its historical significance and the impact it has had on the people of London in the past. Number 9, the Bells of St. Sepulchre. If you're one of those travelers that like to immerse themselves in the historical significance of the places you visit, then these infamous bells of St. Sepulchre are surely going to blow your mind. There's nothing pretty about these bells that were used for hundreds of years as a sounding beacon when offenders at Newport Prison were to be executed. If you happen to cross
I think he means Newgate Prison, not Newport Prison. There's no such prison as Newport. It's Newgate. I'll just put that in. This is interesting, actually, because Newgate. Who's that? Chloe. Hello, Chloe. Hello. Hello. We're doing things on Alternative London. So I'm showing you some places. This, unusual places. This thing about the bells and St. Sepulchre's, yeah, they used to ring the bell when people were going to be hung, when people were going to be executed. And they used to be driven through the streets of London on a cart, open cart, and people could throw things at them. It's pretty horrible. So before you were killed, you were insulted by people. But they did there are some pubs around which allowed them to have one drink before they were killed. And you can still visit some of those pubs.
Old Bailey, be sure to check this bell out. The words engraved on the bell are sure to send a chill down your spine. Number 8, Little Venice. A slice of pizza could be found at many corners in London. But do you know that another slice of Italy silently lies between Hyde Park and Warwick Avenue? A series of beautiful canals connect Little Venice, where you can find colorful canal boats all around in the water. Don't forget to take a scenic walk around the banks of the canal or book a boat ride for yourself. Number 7,
that I would say is good to do. The canals in London, the Regent's Canal is right near me in Camden, and there's lots of canals, and you can take little boat rides. But the area known as Little Venice, lots of people live on the boats the whole year. It's great in the summer. In the winter, it's really freezing. I know, because I talked to someone who lived on the boat, and they said, oh yeah, in summer it's amazing, but you get lots of flies from the water. But in the winter, it's so damp. It's not just cold. And so basically you wake up in the morning and you put your clothes on and they feel wet, which isn't a good feeling. You know, it must be terribly depressing, you know.
The vaults. A Google search of the Vaults London reveals that they are a hidden, multidisciplinary collage of art located in the underground world of Waterloo Station in central London. The vaults can be accessed through a colorful graffiti tunnel, which will bring you to a shared space full of artists painting and repainting the walls. A theater event called Waterloo Vault also organizes quirky and unique theater performances and parties. You should definitely check out their website to find their event calendar. Here's a pro tip. Bring along some paint with you if you want to add your mark on the walls of the vaults. Number 6, Dennis Server's house. The Dennis Server house.
His name is Dennis Severs, actually. But this is amazing. This is truly amazing. Quickly tell you, this is an area of London with some very old buildings. And these were weavers. You know what a weaver is? Does either of you know what a weaver? A weaver. Do you know what that means? That means a weaver? Any idea?
People who weave fabric.
Yes.
Or
And what happened in the 17th century, in the 1600s, Huguenots, who were religious people who were weavers in France, there was a big Huguenot massacre, and lots of the weavers left, and they came to set up in London. They were welcomed. They could practice their religious beliefs, and they brought their skills, and they were silk weavers, which was incredible skill. And their houses are in good condition, some of them. And this man called Dennis Severs bought one of the houses and then recreated it as it was in that time and lived in it like that with no electricity. And so when you go to the house, it's like you're in 1600 and something. It's truly amazing. Really amazing. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, his name is Dennis Severs.
House in Folgate Street is an imaginative still life drama museum founded by Dennis Server himself. The museum features what life must have been for Londoners back in the day. The 10 rooms of the house apparently cast 10 spells on the visitors that engaged their imagination in moods that dominated the time between 1724 and 1914. Even if you're not a museum person by heart, this vividly beautiful concept is sure to catch your attention.
It's very
Number 5,
beautiful.
the Castle Cinema.
Oh, I don't know that.
Fancy a stylish, hidden, and recently opened cinema in London? If you're looking to do something touristy, or you just want to watch a movie, do not miss the Castle Cinema. This artistic cinema is an independent, crowd-funded community project, which also features some exotic interior and a bar. The cinema is known for screening a range of indie films, as well as some chartbusters. Number 4, Royal Exchange.
That's nice.
Next on our list is the iconic Royal Exchange. Set up as one of the first places where England traded stocks, the Royal Exchange may astonish you with its modern appeal. Located between St. Paul's Cathedral and the Tower of London, the Royal Exchange is today a place for fine dining and boutique shopping. Traditionally, this building was also used as a place to announce the reign of the new monarch to the public. Number 3, Chislehurst Cave.
I have to say, Chislehurst isn't really in London. It's in Kent. This is about 20 miles from the centre. These are interesting caves, but it is not really in London, I think.
Probably the only entrant on our list that is not located right in the city of London. To experience the caves, you have to travel a little outside the city, specifically a suburban district in the southwest of the city. It is also one of the places where legendary bands like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones have performed. Number 2, Nomadic Community Gardens. One of the best kept secrets of the bustling city, the Nomadic Community Garden in Shoreditch is nothing short of a dream escape. Take a walk through the volunteer-run gardens as the mesmeric street art surrounds you and draws you closer. The makeshift cafes are a great place for a quick cup of coffee, and consumer spending provides a source of income to the marginalized section of the city. For a piece of barren land to become what it is today, the Thematic Community Garden is a prime example of how a community can come together and turn things around.
All I'll say about that is that I think that's been built on already. I don't think it's still there. I think it might, it's a very valuable piece of property. Shoreditch was originally very run down, and it's developed, and there's lots of high-rise flats there now. So maybe they protected it. It's not a very beautiful garden, though. There are many very beautiful gardens. This isn't one of them.
Number 1, Kyoto Garden.
Oh yeah, this
22 hectares of sprawling Japanese-style gardens lie in the west of London,
that's when I was
hidden just
thinking of
behind the
this.
ruins of the Holland House. The Kyoto Garden is one of the best aesthetic getaways, with tranquil waterfalls and a pond full of koi carp. The serene attraction is a fantastic place to visit if you're looking for something peaceful and calming, right near the hustle and bustle of London City. So what do you think about our list?
Interestingly, in that garden, there are peacocks wandering
Really?
about. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't mention it. The peacocks, they're really famous. It's Holland House and Holland Park Gardens. It's really beautiful. The Kyoto Gardens are in the center. It's only a small area of the Holland Park, but it's a really lovely walk. And Holland House is absolutely lovely. It's a ruin. It was on fire, caught fire. And actually, I'll show you something if I can just find it. Oh yeah. I just remembered something. I think I've shown you this before, maybe Chloe's seen it before. This little book. It's a very old book. This actually says Holland House, right? You can see this, Holland House. Now, as I said, there was a fire at the house, and I bought this in a market a couple of years ago. If I can just get it up for you, I'll show you. Let me go to the timetable. Let me just try and do this. See if I can just get a picture. Yeah, so here we go. It got hit by a bomb in the Second World War. Hopefully the picture will come up. Can you see? Can you see it's like there's been a fire, and this is the library. This is what it originally looked like when the house was perfect. And this is what it looked like. It'll open up big. Oh. Come on, open. Oh, it's not going to let me get a big picture. Which you can see, it's, oh, there we go. Now, interestingly, this book is from that room. So somewhere this book was in that room on one of these shelves. And the reason it's wrecked and it's a bit on fire was obviously it got slightly burnt when the bomb hit. And I found this in a market a few years ago, which is amazing. Also, it's very interesting. I think I've told you this before. Maybe it has this thing about Holland House, but also in the back, which is so fascinating. It's a bit hard to read. Can you see what some of the words are? Can you see there's an important word? Can you see one of the most important words? Someone very, very famous.
Napoleon.
Yeah. Napoleon, yeah, Napoleon. Well, underneath it says Napoleonis Paulina Borghese. Napoleon had a sister called Paulina Borghese. This book originally belonged to Paulina Borghese, Napoleon's sister. And after she died, it got sold and it went to Holland House. And then after Holland House, it ended up in a market about 50 years afterwards, and I bought it. So it went from Paulina Borghesi's house. It's a book of poetry. It's the months in poems. It's from about 1810, I think. The date is there, and I'm very bad with dates. Which is, I'll try and remember. It's MD, which is 17. MDCC is 1750, 1770, 1779. That's the date this book was. 1779, which is pretty amazing. And it cost me nothing because it's so wrecked. They were just like, oh, the book is 50 pence, you know, but it's a great little book. So I'm just looking. We might do. I think we can do a poem. I've got a poem about London. Let me have a look. Oops. I found a couple, but I don't know if that was the best one. I'm just when. The one I'm looking for. The one I'm looking for is yeah, we'll do this. We'll do the I can't seem to see that. Westminster Bridge. I'm trying to find the easiest bit to do. Yeah, we'll go for the first one. So do you want to read a verse each?
Sure.
Is that okay, Chloe? It's by Oliver Tearle, in fact, it's a bit hard. Tearle, yeah. London is the capital of Great Britain. To be honest, I don't know much about this poem, but maybe read the first verse. So do you want to start, Chloe?
Okay.
Okay, so can you, I'll make it bigger. Hang on for all of you, both of you. Zoom in.
It's okay now.
Oh, okay. Oh, I made it a bit bigger. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, go for it.
For now, from wall to wall, you take your steps.
Yeah.
A case of no belongings stashed under the bed,
Yeah.
and ready to begin the whole rat race at a head's drop when the music stops.
That's good. That's very good reading. A whole rabid rat race means like, you know, it's about going to work, basically, I think. It means like you're ready to, you know, get to London. You've got your suitcase under your bed. You've got nothing really special in it. And you're the whole rabid rat race. And a hat's drop means now, go. It's like, you know, and it's quite atmospheric. Yeah, they explain it before we go back through the centuries. Contemporary, you know, this is very much now, London now, you know, and they explain a bit about it. Oh, this is a really hard one. I won't give you that one because the words are really complicated. Just find one that's a bit more. Yeah, this is good. I think the William Blake one would be good, Sophie. So it's just 4 lines, but it's very, very lovely. Let's see if you can get, it's a bit hard because there's the apostrophes are for other letters. So see how you go. It's like you have to make a vowel sound usually. But do you want to go for it, these 4 lines?
Sure. I wander through each character street, near where the characters.
Well, yeah, it's not, funny enough, it's not characters because there's no C, it's chartered.
Charter.
Chartered,
Oh,
yeah, character would have an A-T. So it's
Yeah.
chart, if you look, it's charter, and then, because
Yeah.
it's got apostrophe over the E, where the E would be,
Yeah.
is chartered. So I wandered through, and like throw is through, because this is written about 2 years
Through.
ago. Yeah. So carry on, sorry. Near where the chartered Thames does flow. Yeah.
And mocked it, and mock in every face I meet. Marks of weakness, marks of wound.
Woe. Yeah, it's an old word, woe. Do either of you know what woe means?
No.
Oh, I'll put it in the thing, see what comes up.
Sure.
Does that sound right? What does it translate as?
Grief.
Yeah, sadness or grief. So, you know, when you see someone who basically who lives on the street and their face shows that they really live on the street, the woe is in their face, you know, their life is in their face, you know. So it's he's talking about basically the people who work and live on the streets and how hard their life is, which it is very hard even today. You know, in the last couple of nights when it's been very, very cold in London, it's been terrible for people. I took, you know, I've got lots of old sweaters and I was going to take them to a charity shop, and I didn't. I just gave them to a homeless lady. I just gave them because I just thought, well, she can warm up, you know, maybe help. And I'm going to do that. I've decided this winter with lots of things I've got, I'm just going to give them away because, you know, I buy old things anyway, so I might as well give them away. I think it's a good idea. But well done. Let me just stop sharing. Well done, both of you. That was good reading. Thank you very much. I hope that was interesting. I showed you a little bit of alternative London, but any questions? Have I got any questions? Any of you got questions about London? I can, oh yeah, go on, Sophie.
Greg, what do you think is the best Christmas gift for a British guy?
Oh, okay. Well, it depends what he's like.
Yeah,
but maybe the easiest thing perhaps would be to buy, well, on a basic level, you could buy a voucher. You could buy a voucher so he could choose his own thing. So you could give him like a Amazon voucher or something. I know it's very boring, but I mean, you could, on the other hand, buy them some cologne, some men's products like aftershave. You know, it's very traditional. You know, but then you have to know the smell he likes. Whether he's more like woody or whether it's very fresh or very green or very aqua, you know. Very difficult to buy clothes for anyone unless you know them really well. Very, very difficult.
I was thinking about whether I should buy a scarf for him.
Yeah, if he wears scarves, but ask him, and then you have to think about colors because men are, you know, like, you know, a simple color like a plain color,
black,
like
or
black
red,
or red, a simple one color, as long as you get the right color and the fabric's good, you get the good wool, you know. Ultimately the best wool you can buy is cashmere. So I mean, but a cashmere scarf,
yes, I'm going to buy it.
Cashmere scarf is going to cost a lot of money. But you can buy good wool scarves. You can buy good lamb's wool is the next wool, soft, very soft wool.
Actually, I found out that the scarf made of cashmere is quite cheap here, especially like I found, you know, there's a British brand called Burberry, right? Yeah, Burberry.
Yeah,
and the price of it is really affordable for me, but I found out there's another brand in here or in Japan. Most of the time the brand, I think it is the brand originate from Japan, and they also sell scarf made of cashmere.
Which brand is it? Which brand? Do I know it? Is it Uniqlo? Muji. Oh yeah,
Muji.
Muji is very good shop. There's also the other brand that's very reasonable, that's Japanese, is Uniqlo. Do you know
Yeah,
Uniqlo?
Uniqlo is
Uniqlo
brilliant.
sell. This is from Uniqlo. This is gilet. I'm wearing.
Nice.
Yeah, and they sell cashmere scarves as well,
Yeah.
and they do a good color range as well. They're still quite expensive. I mean, I think you could buy lamb's wool. Lamb's wool's very soft. I mean, this is like a wool scarf, and it's
Yeah.
strong. You know, in England we need quite thick scarves because it's cold. So, you know, maybe try that. Have a look. And
Sure.
you can always ask me next week what you think. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank
I
you
think
very
I'm
much.
going to send the package for him this
Oh,
week,
that'd be
because we are
nice.
going to have Christmas exchange gift, and
Oh,
yeah, and I was thinking about that. I definitely have to send him some tea bag of black tea in Taiwan, and some of
okay.
them are
That could be
really
good.
nice, and
Something
he
very
loves black tea.
Well, something very distinctively Taiwanese would be good. You know, like
Yeah.
if there's sweets or something or biscuits or cookies or something that's very distinctively
Yeah,
Taiwanese, that
definitely.
would be good. But the scarf is a good idea. I've got loads of scarves, and they're very good. I love scarves. I wear them all the time. You know, I'm in my house and I'm wearing a scarf because I really like wearing, because I'm wearing my jumper. My jumper's got like, oh, my phone's ringing. Sorry. I'm wearing a stripy jumper, but my scarf is not. It looks the same, but it's actually a different brand. But I really like it because the stripes are going the opposite way. So and I had to go and meet someone this morning. So I like stripes. I'm going to put it back now. But I like stripes because I think it's really fun to do that. So yeah, buying definitely a scarf would be good. But thank you very much for today. Lovely to
Thank
speak
you, Greg.
to you.
Thank you for answering me this question.
No, anytime. Always ask me a question. I know a lot about fashion. So hopefully I do. So yeah, you're welcome to ask me any questions about fashion.
Sure.
Okay, love. I'll speak to you soon.
Greg.
Take care of yourself. Bye for
You
now.
too. Bye, Greg.
Bye.